Morning, White River. Thanks, Guy, for the introduction. I think that's also my sermon, so we've had it. No, as Guy said, it's me and my families. I'm standing here as Christiaan, but I'm representing my family, which is 6 people. The youngest one, Joy, Cameron, Ryan, Amy. She's the oldest, she's turning 16 this week. Bente, my wife, and me. And as much as I'm saying it here, it's all of us. Because we all jumped onto that plane. And we're all part of the adventure. So you might have woken up this morning and thought I'm ready for a good preach. Today might be a bit more of a story, our story. But it's actually not our story because it's fully his. If it was our story, I wouldn't stand here. I would be in the Netherlands. So, as you see, we've called it Walking with God. As Leon said, if you sell your car, you have to walk. That's sort of what happened. I bought the car already, again. So I will give you some context of where we. Some of you know me, some of them not. I will give you a bit of context where we come from, and where we're going to. I'm not too sure. So, Bente, my wife, Bente de Boer. Bente, my wife, is born in South Africa, born in Paddock, a small town close to Port Shepstone on a big sugarcane farm. Grew up there. Moved to Cape Town when she was around 11. Her parents got divorced. Grew up in a non-Christian home at all. More a soap kind of home. Moved with her mom to Cape Town. Studied in Cape Town. Gave her life to God from when she was young. Separate from everything what was happening at home, she knew God. From when she was 8 or 9 years old. Studied in Cape Town, and then somebody phoned her when she was 19, 20, if she wanted to come and work in White River. She had never heard of White River, and that was somebody working at Uplands from the school, and they phoned her and said, "No, we need a teacher, and we've heard you're a good one, and don't you want to come and work in White River?" And she prayed about it, thought about it, and she moved to White River, which for me, as in Dutch standards, that's moving to the other side of the world, but for you it's like still in the same country. So she's been living here for 3 years, 2001, 2002, 2003, worked at Uplands, was part of the church in Nelspruit. There was no CU there was a church in White River, but not a CU church. She was part of the church in Nelspruit. And then, just as she felt she was part of the community and settling in here, God asked her to move to Europe. I realize that maybe for some of you think, how does that work? I won't touch too much about that today. But she was sure she had to go to Europe. She moved to London, which was easy because of language and lots of work there. So she started teaching there. Because of I don't think it was CU back in those days, but the church in Nelspruit, being part of the NCMI network, the same as we are here. Yeah, I'm saying we. When she was in London, she looked like, hey, okay, God, where do you want me in Europe? So she looked on the NCMI website, and there was an LTT in those days. Now it's an Equip, organized by a Dutch church in the week that she had holiday, her school holiday. So she thought, "Well, let's book. I'll go to that conference and I expect God to speak further on." She arrived in Holland, and I was part of I'll start a little bit before that. And I'm Dutch. I grew up in the hervormde kerk, sort of the NG kerk here. That's Reformed. A traditional church. Always had the privilege of my parents looking for more, knowing there's more than the boundaries of the NG kerk. And when I was 16, I had some friends in a evangelical church, and I said, the life that I see in that church and the life that's happening there, I want to be part of that. So I moved over from church, and that was a church planted by a South African, Gert-Joop Dolk, Kurt and Debbie Dolk. Some of you might know him. I think he's coming, end of the year, he's preaching here sometime. So you'll meet him. South African guy planted the church in Voorthuizen, which is a small country town in the middle of Holland, where I was born. I still remember the days that we were in the traditional church, and like this crazy South African came to our town to tell us who Jesus was. I mean, we knew who God was, you know. What was he doing with us? But we soon discovered that he brought something new. He brought life. So I've been part of that church from when I was 16, and that's the church that organized the Equip, the LTT in the area where we stayed. To give you a little bit of an idea, I mean, I was born in that town. I've never moved more than 5 kilometers till January. So I was quite rooted, very rooted in that town. And the moment Bianta walked in on the I was there at the conference, and the moment Bianta walked in, I thought, that's her. Then she started talking, and me being very Dutch, I couldn't speak much English. I thought, oh no, this is the wrong one. She's speaking English. Let's move on. But a year later, we got married. 6 months later, she moved over to the Netherlands. A year later, we got married. And that's now 18 years ago that we got married. So that's a bit of a... And from there, we got married 2006, which is a while ago. She came to the Netherlands. I thought, that's easy. We never spoke about me moving at all. That was not in my vocab. I already had my business. I studied as a mechanic, agricultural mechanic. I love big machines and tractors and combines, and I worked there in that scene for a while. But I also had, as a hobby, I fixed some quad bikes, sold some quad bikes, and obviously as a man, it's also fun to ride a quad bike. So I did a lot of test riding for the customers. And that became a bit too much, that hobby, and at a certain point, I couldn't work anymore and do my hobby. So I remember God clearly saying, start your own business. I was looking for God, walking with God, and saying, where do you want me to go, left or right? And it was like left or right. And I felt God saying, start your own business. I was not a businessman. You must hear me well. I was Chris. I loved to fix some machines, and I was handy. I'm still quite handy, but that's what I was. I never thought of a business of how to do it. I just started. That business grew in the last 22 years into Europe's biggest quad bike shop. I can preach some sermons about that, what happened in those years. I won't do that. But if I think about it, I'm amazed what God does in business, through business, but especially through people that just have their hands open and say, okay, we'll set the alarm every morning and we'll go to work and see what happens. And I've discovered when you walk with God, God provides not only the outside, but especially the inside. As some of you know, I see Rob here and some other guys having a business. It's not always easy, and especially when the business grows. Things get bigger, things get worse, money is changing, and there's a whole lot of the staff coming in. And I had never studied for those things, but always walking with God, God provided, and He gave me the wisdom. I think going to school would have been cheaper than how I did it, but it worked. So I've paid the lesson. As I said, that looking back, that grew into a big business where we sold quad bikes, later on also side by side. Some of you know, like kind of buggies where you sit next to each other, used for farming, used for hunting, used for racing. We started a racing department a few years ago where we raced with customers through the whole of Europe. A live business, lots of happening, lots of fun, lots of trouble, lots of everything. But God fully in it. And that was also my ministry. That was the place where I met people. That was the place where I was the example for my staff. And we had 25 guys. I want to be wise in what I say here, but paying 25 guys in the Netherlands is quite a bit more expensive than paying 25 guys here. That was the place where we functioned, not only me, also as a family, as a couple, where we. I remember one day there's a lady sitting in the shop, waiting for a repair or something, and she came up to me and said, "I don't know what it is here, but there's something different here. I'm sitting here, I don't know what I'm feeling, but there's peace." I said, "I know what it is. It's Jesus." And over those years, I've had lots of those conversations. God fully involved in business. I don't see a line between business and church. It's life. It's all together. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the racing. I enjoyed the customers. We loved it. And I thought I would get old in that environment. Next to that, we were part of the church. In the last 5 years, we're part of the elders team, part of the building, part of lots of things in church involvement. So we had a busy life, which we enjoyed. We still enjoy that life, but something changed in 2022. We had planned a holiday with the 6 of us to South Africa. Holiday, just holiday. Obviously, we had some friends and family here. We've been over here. I think I've been in South Africa 5 or 6 times. I loved it, the country, the climate, the space, and always going home. And I was home. Home was like going back. And we planned that holiday for 4 weeks, visiting friends and family. We had 1 week in Swaziland where we served in a community. And I suppose when you plan a holiday, you plan the holiday, and you also plan like some things for after the holiday. Like I'll do that when we come back, or your agenda doesn't stop at the holiday. I had planned lots of things, new things for after the holiday. And from the moment we landed in Joburg, something was different. And that's easy to say now, but if you land, you think, oh, I don't know what it is, maybe I'm tired, or we need a holiday. And as the weeks got along, something was different. It was just very good. And you all know when you are on holiday, you don't have to work, there's less pressure, it is different. So that's, I suppose, what a holiday is for. You rest, and you get out of your normal circumstance, you're a bit out of the box. But this was different. And we visited where Bianca grew up on the farm. We visited the guy that bought the farm from her dad in those days. And he was looking for a manager, and I said to Bianca, we need to go, because otherwise I'll buy the whole farm and we'll stay here. We need to go. And I've never had that feeling. Moved on, we're in Swaziland for a week. We had a special time. And from Swaziland we drove through the Lowveld area, where Driekes and Mariette, some of you know them, they hosted us for a week. We didn't know them. We arrived at their home and we spent a week with them in the area. And had a good time, and there was one more week left before we went home in Joburg. And driving out of Nelspruit towards Joburg, you all know that road. I've driven it now quite a few times and I'll never forget it. There was a song playing in the car, I Speak Jesus. I had to laugh this morning when Leon, I didn't ask him to play it. I Speak Jesus. And the kids were in the back of the car, in the car, not all in the back, we just put them on the seats, but with the headphones on. And we're traveling with the 6 of you and being hosted by people, you always sleep in the same room, and there's not much space as parents to chat together. And they had their headphones on and they were reading stuff, and Bianca and I, we looked at each other and we said, what's happening? This is not our normal holiday. And I can still hear the music playing in the background. And Bianca looked at me and said, do you have the same feeling as I have? I said, yeah, it looks like it. And we just started like, what is this? What are we feeling? What's happening? And I said, and we went back to the moment we landed in Joburg, like, just talked it through. Luckily, it's a 4 hours drive, so you got some time to talk. And is this us, I know when we went to Italy on holiday, you drive past the state agent and you see the adverts of the homes and you think, could I live here? Like, what do they cost? Well, it's nice, but let's go home. That feeling, like on holiday you think, hey, that's nice here, but it's good to go home. And you must hear me well, we didn't have a boring life, we had a beautiful home. There's nothing, we weren't looking for those things at all. And as we talked along, we said, let's just say it. It doesn't mean if you say it's going to happen, but let's just be honest with each other. What is this? And Bianca never felt homesick, never. God brought her to Europe, that was her home. For the first time in those 20 years, Bianca said, it feels like I'm homesick. I said, I feel like I can live here, which was very strange. If you never moved more than 5 kilometers, used to a country that's as flat as a pancake and you can't cycle everywhere. But is it us? Is it our own desire, or is is it something else? So there was quite a trip in Joburg. We spent a week, we joined the outreach and joined some other stuff, and Sunday night we were flying home. Sunday morning we went to church, and after church a lady comes up to us. In that church service some stuff happened, and we stood outside after the church service, shocked, like, okay, those last 4 weeks, what was this, you know? And a lady walked up to me, and I had shared in that week in Joburg, I had shared some stuff in the church, for the church. And the lady said to me, Chris, you've shared something for us that God's shown you for us as a church, but I believe God has shown you in the last 4 weeks what He's got for you. That was a summary of our holiday. And I was still thinking, we are making this up here, it's all nice, and wearing flip-flops and shorts for 4 weeks is fun, which you don't do in the Netherlands. Maybe 4 hours, but not 4 weeks. So we went home, and Bernd and I are quite different. I have to see it, feel it, and Bernd sort of knew what was coming. A bit more convinced about it. I went home, I thought, once we're back in routine, back to work, back to like the job, the feeling will go away and we'll carry on with our lives. That's how I went home. But that didn't happen. I was home and I tried, but the feeling didn't go away. I put it in the cupboard, I locked the cupboard, threw the keys away, I did everything. I was walking around in the business in our shop, which was fully me, the place that I felt almost more home than home. Like, that's why I spent the most time. I thought, what am I doing here? Which is a bit strange if you are running the business. So that continued for a while, and we love God. We want to serve Him. We've always served Him. But now, what to do with this feeling? So I want to stay on track a little bit. The main question was, is it us or is it God? And if it's God, we want to act on it. Because you might recognize sometimes God speaks to you and you don't act on it and it will go away, and sometimes it pops up, but you just carry on your life. But this was too big. Some people, there were some close people to us, like my parents, we told them just what happened with us or what we were feeling, not knowing what was going to happen. And the eldest team that I was part of, we also told them. Just to have some people around us, like, if you think we lost it, please let us know, because we think we're getting crazy. Which they didn't. And to take a few steps back, before the holiday, 2022, I had to prepare an elders meeting on a Friday morning, and I had a song playing. Sometimes you've got those songs for a season, and I had a season of that song playing, and I said to the guys, I want to listen to the song. Let's listen to the song together, and after that, talk through it. And that song is based on Isaiah 6, verse 8, which I think it's coming up on the screen also partly. The song is called Send Me. And the Bible says, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, here I am, Lord, send me. And the song goes, if it's bandaging the broken or washing filthy feet, here I am, Lord, send me. If it's loving one another, even when we don't agree, here I am, Lord, send me. And as I pressed the play button that Friday morning, God took me fully off. I started crying, I couldn't talk anymore. Normally after the elders meeting I went back to work. Most of the time I was half working during the elders meeting, but now I had to go home. I couldn't talk anymore. God fully took me out of it. And I was serious about what here I am, Lord, send me. You can imagine if you grew up in that in that small circle, that here I am, send me is quite safe, because it's most of the stuff is happening in that circle. And I've been all over the world. I've been in Australia, I've been in Japan, in America. So it's not that I didn't knew what was happening outside of our village. But I put my finger up. Bernthe, my wife, in the months also before the holidays, she had a restless feeling. She was like just restless. Something's going to change. So when we came back after the holiday, I told one of the elders, and he said, "Yeah, you can only blame yourself. I mean, you played that song," which is true. I'll play it again, and again, and again. But I thought, yeah, it's actually that's what's happening. So that was 2022, end of 2022. I said to Bernthe, I would like to, if this is real, we need to do something with it. And I mean, now we know that we've moved, but by then, I mean, okay, God, what are you asking? We can fly in a few times a year, can start something, I can be part of something. I mean, I've heard of Sinani, I would love to do something with Sinani, and then fly home. That's probably the easiest, the cheapest, and also the best for the kids maybe, and all of those thoughts. But God, what are you asking of us? So I said to Bernd, if this is real, I would like to go back to South Africa just by myself, which I normally never do. I love traveling with the family or with work or with other people. Just by myself, let me just be in South Africa for 2 weeks and see if it's still there, what we think is here. So, and by then nobody knew, beside the small group of people. So even at work they were like, why are you going to South Africa for 2 weeks all by yourself? I said, just let me, I phoned Ellen and I said, Ellen, I'm happy to just sit in the back of the car for 2 weeks. Just being there is enough. Because maybe they put something in our drinks when we were on holiday. And expecting God to confirm what he was doing. With a few big questions, like, okay, Lord, if it really is what we think it is, what about the kids? We've got 4 kids. What about the business? What about our involvement in church? Like some big questions. And there's more people moving from South Africa to Europe than from Europe that way. So if we think about it logically, or if we think about it too much, it's not wise. So, but if it's you, here we are. So Ellen said, we are in Joburg for a week. You're welcome to join us, and the week after that in the Lowveld. And so I went, and I thought, probably God, I'm going to be in South Africa for 2 weeks, and maybe the last day God will give me the conclusion, or he will tell me what to do. Didn't work like that. The morning I woke up, on the Friday morning I was flying out to South Africa, I felt God like he was putting up the sign already. And there weren't 2 signs, there was only 1 sign. He was giving direction. And I challenge you, if God's asking you something, if God is asking something of you, make time and it helps if it costs you something. Set aside something to search for him in what way, because he's not only calling you, he's also giving you the direction, because you're walking with God. And Isaiah 30 verse 21 says, your own ears will hear him, right behind you, a voice will say, this is the way you should go, whether to the right or to the left. And I've sometimes read this verse in terms of, okay, if I go left, it's fine, and if I go right, it's fine. But the verse says, if you're looking for me, and if you're looking left or right, I will tell you where to go. So I also challenge you to keep moving. If you want to steer a car, it's much easier when you drive. It's actually bad for the tires if you keep steering while you're standing still. So keep moving, and God will direct. It's not easy to give a description of those 2 weeks. I was happy to go back after 2 weeks. I was happy I didn't book for 4 weeks, because it would have been too much. So with the big questions that came out, like with the kids and work, and I mean, we hadn't organized this or planned this, it just suddenly came. You can imagine, I mean, Amy, our oldest daughter, the school system in the Netherlands is a bit different, but she would have finished school this month in the Netherlands. Now she's got another 2.5 years of school here. There's a whole lot of that stuff. I'll give you one. So much happened in those 2 weeks. I'll give you 1 or 2 examples. In the second week, as Guy said, I joined a group of guys here, and I didn't tell anybody why I was here, because I thought if they will tell me something, then I know that's not their own thoughts. And a guy walks up to me and he says, somebody walks up to me and he says, Chris, do you know that story with the little boy with the finger in the dike, which is actually a Dutch story. It's not a Bible story, but it's a Dutch story. In 1954, I think there were floods in the Netherlands, and there was a children's book wrote about a little boy holding his finger in the dike to stop the water from flowing in. And the guy said to me, Chris, I feel God saying to you, you can pull your finger out. Okay. And that was me, because I was standing like thinking I had to go, but holding my finger in, because what about the kids, and what about this, and what about that, and my responsibility. Next morning I opened my quiet time book, which was a special book because somebody gave it to me that's not a Christian. My PA at work, she gave it to me, not knowing why I went to South Africa, but she gave me that book and said, Chris, I can see you searching for something, I bought you a book. So I thought, if I get that book from that lady, I'll better read it every day. The next morning, I opened that book. The main line on the book says, finger in the dike. That was a big answer. And that just for 2 weeks, just the one to the other. Now the nice thing is, with the finger in the dike, the most of you, I hope everybody here is a Christian, knows God. But there's a lot of people asking me, like, have you lost your mind? Are you going to South Africa? Even people here, like, why are you here? And if I tell them our story, if I tell them about the finger in the dike, you don't need to be a Christian to get goosebumps from those things, because God's in it. So I went home, and just before I went home, I phoned Bianca and I said, pack your suitcase, we're going. That's a bit the short version. They said, let's make the decision, we're going. We don't tell anybody for a week, and let's see if we keep peace about our decision for that week. Because this is not a decision we're not here because of the climate or the lifestyle or whatever. We're here because God's sending us. So it's against a whole lot of stuff. But if God's given us peace, we'll go. I couldn't keep quiet for a week because I had so much peace. I just told everybody where we're going. And over the years, I challenge you to, if God is asking you something, make sure you've got peace, His peace about it. God preached a few weeks about making your own plan or living in peace. Stay in that peace, whatever decision you make. That was 23, so in May I came back. 6 months after that, a whole lot of stuff changed. Our complete life changed. We sold our home. I sold the business, handed over the business, which you plan that for years. Businessmen here know that it's not easy to just find somebody, just put somebody in, okay, now you're running with the business. And that for me was not business, because the business was my team, my guys. And if I'm leaving, I couldn't, but God had planned it already for a longer time. So I sold the business to a guy that worked for me. They are doing very well, they're flying, which is much more important than some money that I got out of it. And sold the business in 6 months, sold our home in 3 weeks. It just happened. The amount of testimonies that in the big things, but also in the small detail, that just God pushed us out. I said, we keep on saying, it felt like we sat on a fountain. Like in a fountain, you can only go out and you can't, it's not easy to go in. Just God did it in everything. And yes, it was not all easy. And yes, we've had lots of tears. And yes, we've had doubts. And I've been lying awake sometimes is this really happening? But God kept on confirming through people, through prophetic words, through His word. He just did it. We couldn't stay. And it didn't feel it was against our will. We loved what was happening, but it's a big change. In the 1 week I was here in the Loafert with the guys, just by myself, Alan spoke about a season of a sunset and a sunrise. And that's what happened with us over the last 12 months. The sun set, letting go of stuff, which is also a beautiful season. We often go and watch the sunset, but it's a big change of a season, and it's dark for a while, and then the sun comes up again. And we would have never realized, but in the sun setting, so many customers, friends, family of us, they saw the sun setting in our lives, which was one big testimony of God. Non-Christian customers that I have built a relationship over for the years, they still phone me. They phoned me and said, I can't believe what's happening. This must be God. Don't you want to explain what, and not one, a lot. And then the 5th of January, we arrived with 12 suitcases and with 6 of us in Joburg, and the sun started rising. And I think you all know, but you know what Mpumalanga means, the place where the sun sets, the place where the sun rises. So I think we're in the right spot here. And over the last 6 months, we sorted out the schools and the sun is rising again. Bought a house. We bought a house not on purpose, but the sun is rising in our bedroom every morning, so we sleep with the curtains open because we want to see that sunrise, What we want to just every morning be reminded what God's doing. And it's a big change. I've had some culture shock in different layers. I'll just smile about it. I won't talk about it. But it's been God. And like all of Dutch people said, okay, why are you here now? I don't know. And I'm confident to say, I don't know. Which is very strange for a businessman that always had a plan and enjoyed going somewhere. But when God said to Abraham, the Lord said to Abraham, leave your country, your relatives and your father's family and go to the land I will show you. That's what he said. Punt. Dot. And Abraham went. And he's already shown us the land and the province and the town. So the circle is getting smaller. And yes, sometimes I feel like, okay, what's going to happen, I can't stay home for that long. And we've got the privilege that I didn't have to work straight away. But I want to work. But God, over the last year, God's been saying, I'll give you piece by piece from the puzzle. And He's giving us some big pieces. And I know there's also some pieces still missing, but they're coming. And I think He did it on purpose, because if He would have shown us the whole puzzle, we wouldn't have been here. We would have stayed home. And I'm saying I don't know why I'm here. That's partly not true, because I know who I am, and I know that God's got a plan. He didn't move us just for the fun. He moved us for His plan, for a reason. So a big part of the plan is expanding the kingdom. So we'll go from there, and slowly it will develop. And now after the service, you can come to me with all your ideas and your agenda and say, hey, this might be something for you, and I've got work here. And that's good. I appreciate that. But we stick to the puzzle pieces. Yeah. So that's our story. And it doesn't end here. It's actually, every day I'm saying it's just only the beginning. I'm very proud of the kids. They've adapted very well. I mean, the two youngest didn't speak any English. You can imagine at school, if you want to make some friends, how that feels. Luckily, the Afrikaans is a bit close, but even that sometimes is not easy. We've had so many people, us landing here with so many people saying, we're happy you're here, which helps. I mean, imagine if a guy had said, what are you doing here? And not only Guy, I mean a whole lot of people here. So we zijn opgevangen. You've catched us very well, everybody. So, walking with God. And I'm not saying all of this so that you're going to move next week. Not at all. Because even now we made a big move, I'm very convinced that you need to be in the spot where God wants you. And if that's in that 5-kilometer circle or flying all over the world, be in the spot where God wants you. And God knows us so well. He made us, He knows every detail about us. He knows every step. So it's the most beautiful thing to walk with Him. And I challenge you to do that more tight or faster or more conscious every day. because He knows it all. Amen.